welcome to Beers with Nigel. It's a podcast about beer and other
things.
Yeah, not stuff.
Not stuff,
other things. We go back and forth as to...
we forget our own brand. We're really good at this.
Yeah, as you can tell. Tonight we got an episode with some brewers in the house. We got Courtney Servaes from Servaes Brewing in Shawnee, Kansas. We got Burrows from Big Rip in North Kansas City. And we've got Chris Meyers from Crane Brewing in Raytown, Missouri. Guys, thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. We're going to talk about some weird things tonight, some cool things, some odd things probably. We're going to drink some beer. What else are we going to do?
All
Nick?
Those things are going to happen.
Oh, and that's Nick Parker, the co-host, who's, here to... What is your role this week?
I don't know.
What's your role this week?
I don't know what my role is.
Okay.
I talk, I drink beer.
That's his role. It's perfect. So we're going to jump right into it. So let's start with an easy softball question, and we'll start with you, Chris. How did you get into craft beer? What's your story?
Oh man, I think it was just that getting initially into craft beer. I want to give credit to like Boulevard and probably their Smokestack series. I think my older brother brought some of those by.
Nice.
And first time I ever had anything over like 8%. And just very different. And we immediately started going out and, doing build, mix 6-packs, mix case, and just trying everything we could. So definitely my, love of brewing and beer first started with just getting into craft beer.
So were you ever a home brewer?
Yep. Did that for about a year and a half before we started the brewery.
Gotcha. So Crane's been open for how long?
Almost 5 years.
And who was the madman that decided, hey, let's open a brewery?
It was a good mix. I was looking at opening a brewery actually in downtown Lee Summit. And then my partner, Michael, was just, we had talked for a while that he wanted to be involved because he liked brewing the same styles that I was interested in. And one time going to him, actually kind of showing him the space that I looked at in downtown Lee Summit, he came up and said, with the business I own, it's about to go out of business and I've got a 17,000 square foot building. What do you think about, I'm looking at doing this too. And so him and then our partner, Jason, kind of falling into place. A lot of things had to happen.
Interesting. Where were you looking at downtown Lee Summit? I'm curious about that.
Where the Llewellyn's building is.
Really?
Yeah, that was the first building I put an offer on.
That would make a great brewery, though.
It's great space. What they've done with the patio. I'm a Lee Summit. I was born in KC, raised in different areas of the metro, but graduated from Lee Summit West. So it's funny that of the KC area, downtown Lee Summit, like per capita, has more Crane beer usually, in this area.
What was the thing that like flipped the trigger that says, I'm going to go from home brewer to I'm actually going to try to make money at it?
I think it was visiting other breweries. I give Cinderblock. I happened to go up there one night. A friend invited me to go up there, and it was a night that Bryce was still giving tours like on Wednesday nights during the week, and realizing that the scale doesn't have to be Boulevard. It doesn't have to be something massive. And now you see brewery sizes everywhere in between. Realizing, I can take something I enjoy doing. That's not my background. I came from veterinary medicine, but I can take something I enjoy doing, kind of build in that community aspect, just invite people in. And, if we can make money at it, even better.
Right. Hey, Bree, you're next. How'd you get into brewing and beer, and what was your entrance into the world of beer?
Well, it started with, I think it was a Thanksgiving, probably 10 years ago. My brothers and I and my dad, we all got a bunch of ciders because we all just drank ciders at the time.
Right.
We all got a bunch of ciders and shared them on Thanksgiving. And then after doing that for about a year at every family gathering, we ran out of ciders. We slowly started, everyone would bring their own mixed 6-pack to every family gathering.
Right.
Which is why every single Burrows drinks beer.
No, your family's awesome.
And then after a couple years of just sharing beers, my brother started brewing at home. He did the hard part and did the extract first. And then he let us know that it sucked. And then my dad started brewing. And then shortly after that, they both kind of helped me get into it. My dad bought me my first mash tun and hot liquor tank for Christmas one year.
What a great dad.
And it was all downhill from there. They taught me how to brew, and I think I just kind of got into it quicker and a little more than they did.
Right.
Well, yeah. What was that moment when you're like, I'm better than my brothers? I mean, because like, come on, sibling rivalry. That's the best part, right?
Well, the very first beer I made was a strawberry saison, and I brought it to Nano. And so me, my brother, and my dad, all together, we had like 9 beers, and they were pissed because mine was the first keg to blow.
That's a great moment for you.
Yeah, so then every fest, I was just like, well, I'm just going to keep making beer and make it blow before them. And so it's kind of like a challenge.
So how'd you end up at Big Rip? And tell us that
so
journey.
the first time I went to Big Rip was to a Mashers meeting. So the Missouri Mashers, one of the homebrew clubs in the Northland. And I met Jeremy Warford there. He was just bartending there at the time. And he was moving up to assistant brewer there and needed a bartender to take his Sunday shift. So I took his Sunday shift, started working there. Whenever he left Big Rip and started bartending at double shift, I kind of snuck my way onto the brew floor at Big Rip and just kind of worked my ass off on the brew floor and eventually worked my way up to head brewer.
That's awesome.
How long have you been head brewer?
I've been head brewer officially since the beginning of 2019 and partial owner since the beginning of this year.
Cool.
Awesome.
Courtney, you're up. What's your beer journey like?
It's really not like super exciting.
It is to us. Hold on now.
To us that drink the beer, it is.
Yeah, so I graduated college and I got my first job and I moved to this really small town. I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anything to do. And so I decided to get a part-time job at a Walgreens. And there I met Angelo Reese, who is my mentor, good friend of mine. He was actually my boss. And he was like, you need to come hang out at this meeting. And I'm like, you're really lame. You have nothing better to do. You need to come. And I'm like, what is this meeting? And he's like, it's at a church. We drink beer.
Even better.
So I really thought it was odd, to be honest. But I went with them and I couldn't figure it out. There were just like 70 people sitting in these church pews, most of them men drinking beer and talking about beer and learning about beer. And all I wanted to do was just get drunk. But that sort of like, it kind of became a hobby. You know, I'd hang out with him and he'd be brewing and he'd bring me beer to try. And I think the first beer that he brought me that I like really liked was like Sam Adams Cherry Wheat. And I was like, I want to make this.
Right.
And that was like the first beer that I was like, I'm going to do this. And so anyway, yeah, I started brewing with him. And of course he was doing, you know, all grain. He'd been brewing for close to a decade, I think, at that point. And pretty soon I got tired of waiting on him. It felt like I could only brew when I was with him or when he was, you know, free. And so I started kind of buying equipment. And I remember this one day he decided to bike from Lawrence to Ottawa to just randomly come and see me. And he walked in the front door and he looked over in the corner. I had just bought like a big brew kettle. And he was like, that's better than my brew kettle. And I was like, yep. And then I just never, like, we brew together now, but like from that point forward, like I wanted to be self-sufficient and be able to do it on my own. And I just slowly kept, you know, buying more equipment and better equipment and upgrading. And so it's kind of fun now when he wants to come and brew with me because he gets to kind of do some crazy stuff on my, you know, small 3-barrel system instead of his 20-barrel, you know, fermenters that they can't do. They're a little bit more restricted. So
what was that journey like from, I'm a home brewer, I want to open a brewery? How did you come to that conclusion?
I mean, as soon as I started brewing, right, then it was like, oh, we need to open up a brewery. And my wife was basically like, hell no, never going to happen. We're not even going to talk about it. And it just, I think I just wore her down. And finally, I think she was pretty much like, you know what? You're in the garage. You're in the basement. There's beer everywhere.
Right.
You're brewing all the time. Like, let's just start talking about, whether I think I did my MBA. I got my MBA, and the entire time I was getting my MBA, everything was like opening a brewery. Like all the lessons, all the different things, the business plan, it was all opening a brewery. So I think that was probably the moment where she was like, okay, like we can do it now or we can wait 10 years. But eventually she's going to open up a brewery.
Right.
Yeah.
So what are you drinking tonight?
Tonight I'm drinking Incident Ray by Pathlight.
Oh, nice. Apparently when we do these shows, people are like, we need a description what everybody's drinking. So I have to ask so we can document it. So we're going to go back around through you guys. Courtney, what was we debate when craft beer started being started
from
to be
premium
called,
to craft.
to craft, because I remember premium beers back in in the 80s.
Well, he's old. I mean,
Well,
really, let's just start there.
I like to call it seasoned. Thank you very much. What do you remember as your first beer? I know you mentioned that one. What was the first thing you remember? Oh, this is craft beer.
Oh, it was probably New Belgium 1554 that
Oh, yeah.
did it for me, where I was like, this is different and delicious. And that was probably the one that I drank the most of early on. And it's funny that you mentioned that now. Like, I'll check in beers from like back then.
Right.
And I'll have given them like I remember I checked in this cream ale. I think it was like New Glarus's cream ale, their Spotted Cow. And I was like, there's no cream in this. Like, I had no idea what I was talking about or doing.
And look at you now. Hey, Bree, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking Drake Equation from Big Rip. It's single malt oats, single hop pale ale that we
Nice.
released a couple days ago.
Thinking back to your first craft beer, what comes to mind?
I mean, definitely Boulevard somewhere in there. I remember going on some tours really early on and enjoying their dry stout a lot. Other than that, I think Moose Drool was one of the first craft beers I really remember enjoying.
Yeah. Chris, what about you, bud? Your first craft, you think?
Oh, I think the first one I remember was probably Sam Adams. Just, I think they're pale.
Yeah.
But ones that stick out are ones like Moose Drool, discovering Mothers, discovering another brewery in Missouri, like when that was a thing. Man. Yeah,
That's good.
Where do you guys rank Missouri right now? I mean, we can talk about numbers, but that's boring. But when you look at KC area and you look at Missouri, how do you kind of think Missouri is in that craft brew world compared to the rest of
Kansas too.
All right, fine, Kansas.
Kansas services in Kansas. Don't shit.
It's not even really worth mentioning.
But KC area, we allow that part of Kansas. It's all inclusive. I mean, begrudgingly allow Kansas, right?
He's rude. I'm sorry. He's here to be rude and drink beer. So
I forgot about that. The third part of my job is to be rude.
Do you want to chime in on that?
Yeah, I think we're in an interesting spot just because KC was behind for so long. I think a lot of people are intimidated by having, Boulevard here. I think now we're in this awkward spot where people are getting into craft, but they don't even know what they're drinking is even from KC a lot of the time.
Right.
There's a lot of people who don't realize that Crane is from KC area or that we're as small as that we are. So I think it's good. People who are getting into craft is exciting, but also just getting into local support in general is going to be like the next switch. You still go to so many places that don't have a good lineup of everything local that they could.
Right.
Is it hard to get into places other than the standard? I don't want to say standard, but there are craft brew tap rooms, right? Where that's where people go. But is it harder to get into the other bars and the other stores?
I think luckily people are asking for it. I don't know that every place that's just now getting into craft knows what they want, but if people are asking for it, that really helps.
I mean, I can remember Nigel. I mean, it wasn't that long ago that there was one bar here that had craft brew.
Yeah. I mean, probably 10 years ago. I mean, and it wasn't even taps; it was bottles
Right.
down at Mingle, and that was
That was it.
But that was a start. Bree, what's your take on our area craft brew scene?
I think Missouri in a whole is pretty up there. I think when people hear Missouri craft beer, they think St. Louis. They think, I don't know,
shouldn't.
Slap and Side Project and Narrow Gauge. And I think Kansas City's kind of at the bottom of most people's watch list, but I think
They're wrong.
I think they're wrong. And I think that a lot of the big beer nerds and beer snobs need to branch out a little more and drink a lot more local stuff, because I think they're missing out on a lot of good shit. And even in Kansas, like Pathlight's dope, Service is dope.
Right.
I mean, Free State, no brewery in Kansas would be anywhere if it wasn't for Free State.
For sure. He's going to open a can. Do a good job. Good job. Courtney, what's your
acceptable?
Yeah, that was okay. Oh, as I smacked the mic. Courtney, what's your take on our area and the brew scene?
Yeah, it's, I mean, my perspective, I think, is kind of interesting, because when I started looking into opening up a brewery, there really weren't any breweries on the Kansas side in Kansas City. I mean, you had Red Crow that was kind of out in the middle of nowhere at that point.
Yeah.
And then you had some Lawrence breweries, but there just really wasn't. And there was like this kind of weird fear. Like I remember asking, like, why does everybody open on the Missouri side? Like, what's the deal? And I remember like getting a lot of like strange answers, like, well, the laws are harder in Kansas. Like they were just like really kind of lame excuses as to why no one was opening up a brewery on the Kansas side. So, I mean, I started looking into it at that point, just based on the fact that I live in Kansas and I wanted to, you know, open a brewery close to where I lived.
Right.
And pretty soon, I mean, when I remember when I signed the lease on my building, that's when I realized Transport was opening, and then Red Crow was moving, and, you know, Sand Hills was opening. Like it was like all right around that same time.
Right.
And so it was really interesting that like we all kind of were like, okay, let's just do this at the same time. So I definitely think Kansas is we're working on it. If you think about it, when I opened, Transport had opened, you know, about 4 months earlier than I did. Sand Hills opened a couple months after I did. Now we've got Pathlight, and then we've got Rock Creek, and then Lost Evenings just opened. I mean, all of those have opened. Red Crow opened in Olathe. So all those opened up like in Limitless right around the same time. That's to go from like 0 to, you know, that many all within like the last year and a half to 2 years is pretty remarkable. So from my perspective, I feel like Kansas is really like, we're stepping it up. I think I probably agree with Bree that sort of the KC metro area ranks pretty low compared to St. Louis in like the Wales department. But I definitely think that we're putting out some good beer.
Oh, absolutely.
I think it makes it tough right now. Like there aren't a lot of people like going out on day trips to explore Kansas City.
Right.
So I think I'm hopeful that, you know, that during all of this, people are kind
discovering,
of taking a step back and discovering. I know that our new customer percentage is way up during all of this, just because I think people are, you know, they're not traveling to St. Louis. They're not, you know, traveling to all these different places. They're kind of looking into what's closer and exploring some of the new breweries that they might have missed.
And I think Together We Can really helped, because most of those people would not go to Lawrence or even go to Kansas. You know, so I think a lot of people are like, oh my God, I've discovered these beers. And, you know, I think it was a boon for a lot of the locals to realize there's that many breweries around here, because a lot of people didn't know.
A lot of people are just filling up their trunk.
Hey, I'm telling you, literally, there were a couple of those events where we had people from Arkansas spend $900 on beer.
Wow.
And they came up from Arkansas. So speaking of beer, it's time for mystery beer.
Is it mystery beer time?
Mystery beer time.
We just filled up our glass.
That's okay. You know, we'll figure it out. So this is how we do it. This is the golf bag that was stolen from a golf course. Not my own.
Yeah.
But it works as a good mystery beer bag. So the beers will come out on a brown paper bag. There's 3 beers in here. Nick gets to pick and gets to judge. So
Judge.
you know.
By judge, you mean drink.
Let's see what's in there.
What do we got? Ooh. Diametric's Crimson Bog.
Now you have to understand.
I got to put it out here so I can read
10 shows ago, he didn't like sours.
it.
What are you drinking right now? You're
So-
drinking a sour.
Sour IPA.
Yep. Pomegranate mango from Crane.
It's
Which
really
is
good.
delicious. Have you guys had this one?
I have not, but I am all about the sour IPA.
It's so fire. I'm telling you. I took a taste of that. I was like, Lord Jesus.
Awesome.
Well, we'll crack that open once you're done with that one.
Yeah, we'll
'cause
crack that open next.
Maybe
You
you
know
should chug that one, be done with it. You know?
That'll work.
Why-
But Breeze is shaking her head like, yeah, of course.
just.
Good job.
All right, I'm going to read the label here.
Yeah.
Crimson Bog. Cranberry, raspberry, vanilla, and lactose play into this tart but sweet dessert beer.
It's delightful. I think you'll like it.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Do you not have that one either?
Mm-mm.
Yeah,
You
it's
talked over my open.
But
oh, my bad. Yeah. I didn't mean to do that.
And
sir.
you punched the microphone. We're going to have to start putting a jar here for you to put money
This
in.
is only my 10th show. And I'm still in rookie A ball. You know what I'm saying?
You guys got glasses ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Chuck.
Keep the combo going.
I am keeping it.
shout
going.
out to Diametric. That was a good tie-in after Together We Can.
Oh, that was.
Dig it.
Yeah, that was luck of the draw, though. I will tell you, Courtney. Nick is a service fanboy. He really is.
There has not been a bad one yet.
There's no bad beers over there. Every time I break one open, because I feel like I have one every time. Because the last time I went, you
there
guys
are
had.
definitely bad beers. Don't worry. There are.
I got that Father's Day 6-pack. That was a great deal. 6 beers for $25.
That's a
I literally-
fantastic deal.
I literally drove over there for that, and of course to sit in the tap rooms. It was just me, which was fine. I don't need help.
Well, of a different kind.
Well, that's a different thing. Take a little taste
All right,
of that.
let's go.
Let's see what kind of judgment you have of this, because you have to understand, Nick is more of like he likes bourbon and whiskey
And rum.
and rum. So
And gin.
so he like
Oh, wait.
he likes his liquors. So we're trying to coach him up on being a beer guy, and he's doing a good job.
I really like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a dessert beer. Like you wouldn't want a lot of these in a row.
Well, in a row. I mean, you could.
Well, I said in a row.
Well, there's that. So let's jump into, last show we had on Marcus Baskerville from Weathered Souls, and he obviously started the Black is Beautiful beer movement, which has gone super crazy. I think he's up to over 900 breweries, 50 states, 14 countries. What in the hell? I mean, what? That's why I love the beer community, because we get behind the things that matter. You know what I'm saying? And like he said last week, what other industry can galvanize and do something like that? Most other industries, there's so much bureaucracy. They're like, we got to do this, we got to do that. Beer community, let's make a fucking beer.
Well, and to take, like, it's one recipe, right?
Yes.
And everybody's just going to play with it.
Yeah.
Like, every other part of the corporate world would be, well, we've got to do our own thing with our
Right.
own brand and our own whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
So I think we're up to 13 breweries in Kansas City that are doing it. You guys being 3. So Courtney, when you heard about this, and what was your thought, and why did you want to jump on board?
Sorry, I got a screaming baby.
That's okay. That makes for good background noise. That's fine.
net sound.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think that I've been an advocate and an ally of the Black Lives Matter movement for as long as it's been around. I know I think I donated that first weekend when the hashtag came out, and so for me it was just like everything that I conceptualized in my head of how to be involved in something, and also work it into like what I do for a living, and the business that I own. It kind of just all went together with how I feel as a person and a business owner.
Right.
So it was just like an opportunity that I just couldn't not participate in.
Right on. What's been your thoughts as in the last few months of things that's going on? How's it impacted you? And obviously, this is a great opportunity to give back. What's been your thoughts of what's going on in the country right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's terribly sad. Obviously, I don't know how many hours I've spent behind a keyboard, destroying some person that I went to high school with, or my cousin that doesn't get it and posts his police lives matter bullshit all day and all night. Like it's everywhere. It's super frustrating, and at some point you're a business owner, and so you don't want to go crazy.
Right. Alienate everybody. Right.
But at the same time, I feel like it's really important to like my family and my children and people like that they see that even though I am a business owner, it's important enough to me that I have a line, and when that line is crossed, I'm going to confront you, or I'm going to stand up for what I believe in. And I've had friends and people that I went to high school with that I never spoke to in high school that are Black and still live in my hometown. I've had them reach out to me and say, like, it's really cool to see you, comment on these things. And like, I'll jump on, the bandwagon and support
Right.
somebody. And they probably haven't thought about me for 15 years.
Right.
And so I've had a lot of people like reach out to me and just say they think it's cool and they think it's nice. And all of that is awesome. And it makes you feel good. But at the end of the day, that's just words, and that's just me behind a keyboard. So this beer was a way to actually like physically do something to say, like, I'm here, I support you guys, I believe in this. And also, it's a good excuse to make a cool beer and be a part of something that, just is really, really beautiful. So
Right.
I'm curious, Bree and Chris, you guys jump in on this too, just what that's like for you to consider, though, because there's that balance. I mean, Nigel's not a small business owner, but you work for a city, so you have to think about stuff too. He shakes his head no. But I mean, what's that like, that balance of trying to figure out, like, I want to make a stand, I want to speak out, I want to support this social thing, but at the same time, I really want to take people's money too. I mean, how does that balance play into your thinking as you look at what you're going to speak out for and how you're going to back these kinds of things?
For me, I mean, I sort of, I've always been pretty vocal on social media about, my stance on guns, my stance on, same-sex marriage, all of those things. And then when I started opening up a brewery, some of those opinions aren't super popular. And I definitely kind of took a step back before we opened, just to kind of focus on that and not necessarily make my image and my brand all about, advocacy and, the unpopular opinion. So
Right.
I kind of definitely did take a step back in the early days of the brewery. But, now I kind of feel like if you come to my business and you don't know that I am gay, I can't really do anything for you. Like I don't get it. Like we have had people come into the brewery with Make America Great Again hats, and I cannot for the life of me figure it out. Like, how is it possible that you don't know me and you don't know what I believe in at this point in us being open? But at the same time, I recognize that there are still those people that are just like walking down the street, and I'm definitely not going to turn them away, because I'm hoping, like, I'm just praying that maybe the exposure of coming in and having a beer that's brewed by a woman who's gay, who supports all these things, might make you just think twice.
Right.
So my initial reaction to things is like, I'm just going to say what I say. I'm just going to feel what I feel, and you're going to deal with it or you're not. But my wife always reminds me, like, if you go that hardcore, like, you're not going to change anybody's mind.
Yeah.
So that's why I try to be a little bit more reserved. But there comes a point when you're a business owner that it doesn't matter. Like, you feel so strongly about something that it doesn't matter if it hurts you from a business standpoint.
Is that extra pressure for you to think you're using your business to make change, to make that big social change? Is that added pressure as a business owner?
I almost feel the opposite. Like, I worry that people think that, like, I'm just jumping on a bandwagon and not necessarily like doing it for the right reasons. So, I want to make sure that when we do support a cause, that we're all in, that we're giving 100% of the proceeds to it, that we're doing everything that we can, and we're not just like jumping in on it, like trying to, trying to make it be a part of something that we actually don't stand behind. So I try to, I think for me, it's not necessarily that I feel pressured to advocate for something, but rather that I feel pressured to make sure that I am truly in it and that I am doing what I should be doing to support that cause.
I see Bree nodding her head a lot.
Yeah.
I kind of want to hear what she thinks.
Yeah, why'd you want to get involved, Bray, and what's your take
Yeah,
on today's?
I mean, pretty much everything Courtney said. Like, we have a lot of people that come into the brewery, like, and I know, like, even one of our former employees, and I mean, we're in North Kansas City, and we have a lot of conservative folks who are at the brewery, where on one hand, they know I'm gay, and they know that we are very supportive of Pride Month and everything, but on the other hand, the previous owners weren't as forward thinking. They were more business minded and kind of kept things on a business level versus implementing their personal beliefs into the brewery. And now, like, I mean, those owners aren't there anymore. And, you know, now that I'm part owner and head brewer, like, I'm just like, hey, we're doing this. It's important to me. Like, I have a rainbow flag hanging up in the brewery. So everyone comes in, knows exactly what our stance is on stuff like that. When we originally posted that we were going to do the Black Lives Matter beer, we had a couple people say shit. Like, one person was like, oh, quit virtue signaling. And I'm like, the fact that you think this is virtue signaling, but you've never had a problem with our pride posts, kind of says something.
Right.
Just ask them to define that. See if they can.
It's like, you're against one thing, but not the other. Then you might need to take a look at yourself there. I think it's important for businesses. If I ever see a business, Chick-fil-A, for instance, any other business who their owners take a stand against things that I personally believe in, or against freaking human rights of any kind. I mean, Black Lives Matter and Pride Month isn't about politics. It's about being a human.
Right.
So if any business owner takes a stance against something like that, then I want to know. I want to know who not to go to. And yeah, I agree with Courtney. Like, for a while, when I started brewing at Big Rip and became a full-time employee there, I kind of dialed it back on social media a little bit. But you know, you're all, most three of you are friends with me on Facebook. You guys know how outspoken I am. I think Chris.
I've never noticed it. Never noticed it.
I saw a comment Chris made the other day, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but he's like, I would rather not make money than go against my morals.
Yeah. Chris?
Well, yeah, speaking of, you know, we're talking about diversity. Let's get the white guys input here.
There's enough of that.
Yeah. So why did Crane want to jump in?
So Marcus, he had posted on Facebook. We've been connected, just distant beer fam for a while, and brought it up to my team, and luckily they are on board. You know, we don't always agree about everything when we're trying to figure out brew schedule and what beers we want to make, but everyone was on board. One thing we decided pretty early on, though, was we kind of wanted to take it a step further, and wanted to bring somebody else into the collaboration, someone who's part of the community, who's vocal, and who's not white, because we're, you know, as far as the production side goes, we're all a bunch of white guys, and we can make the beer and we can do what we can to raise money and support the cause, but we wanted somebody else to kind of lead the voice. And so we're doing ours with Kemet Coleman, a local artist, musician.
He's awesome.
Great guy. I mean, we met him at one of our first events when we were still homebrewing. First year at Troosterpalooza, we donated some beer to him. And so we've just always kind of connected. Big fan of projects he's done, Brass and Bougie. And so I brought it up to him, and, you know, is that conversation of, you know, we both like beer. He has at one point talked about opening a brewery several times. He understands that, he gets beer. But it's also, I want to invite a black friend into this. It's as clear as that. And so he got that, and he's like, let me think on it. And he's like, I'm going to come up with a Spotify playlist paired with your beer. So we can, you drink the beer, you listen to this music. And then he immediately messaged me like the next day. He's like, you know what? I shouldn't have said that. I'm going to do an EP. I'm going to release a Black is Beautiful EP to go with it. So he's going to come out with his own stuff when we release it. But as far as business goes, people have told me multiple times, you just need to keep it to beer, post about your kids. Don't talk about anything political. And I have gone through my own ebb and flow to where I was kind of blasting out everything, and to now where I try and be a little bit more conscious. I don't share every meme that I think is funny, but I try and, I share links. A lot of times I'll share a news link and I won't even comment on it. I won't preface it with any of my thoughts. I'll just share it and see what people think and what we'll put to it. And it's amazing that even if I don't do that, they automatically,
go in anyway.
But yeah, I think I've got 3 kids, and I want them to know, as moving forward, that they know exactly how I stand on certain issues. They knew exactly what was important. And I love the brewery. I love what we do as a business. I'm not the only owner. I've got partners to consider, but I'd rather quit this industry and walk away if that was the case, rather than, make it all about how I'm going to earn my money.
Right.
I like that you went and you brought somebody in, and I'm curious if you're thinking the same as mine. I'm lucky enough that I have another podcast that I do. It's a news-based thing that I do 3 times a week, and I've got a platform. But,
nice plug.
But I also get, as the middle-aged white guy, right, of a certain age, I always feel a little weird. Like, should I be talking about this? Who do I need to go get? I mean, my voice is already out there, right, all the time. So it's like, who can I get? How can I get more people and the right voices involved? And that's something I always think about, and I'm not sure how to do.
And then you also have to worry about, are you being genuine? I mean, you just getting somebody black just because you need to get somebody black to front
so I'll tell you.
So that's part of the issue too. So it's kind of a fine line.
My background is news, and I have always hated February, Black History Month, because I never want to go do the cliche stories of, hey, especially we're in Lee Summit, right? So there's 4 people that look like Nigel.
Right.
Tall.
Right.
But I don't want to go do that cliche story just because, hey, look, it's February. I'm going to go talk to the black people in town. And I don't know how to do that. And I don't know if that's just, liberal white guilt or what it is, but it's something I try to think about and be conscious.
I think that's kind of something that I enjoy. Almost another hobby. I enjoy making connections and networks. And if we're doing something, if I'm working on a project or I'm working on an event with somebody else, if I know someone that's what they specialize, that's what they do, let's get someone who.
And let's keep it real.
Yeah.
If I don't think it's genuine, I'm not going to fuck with you. Mm-hmm. I want to know what your intentions are and why you're getting, like Diametric, what they're doing. There's the Shades of Craft Beer on Facebook.
Yep.
Matt came to me. It's like, hey, I want to, maybe actually include some people of color to brew the beer. So I got 5 or 6 people. We're brewing the beer Wednesday night at Diametric, and they're all about, they're going to let us brew on their system. Hell yeah, and they're all homebrewers. So that in itself is, to me, it was genuine. They came to me, and Sean was very respectful and like, is this a cool way to go? And I'm like, well, let me reach out and see what the folks want to do. And everybody's like, brew that beer on a big scale? Hell yeah, let's fucking do it. So, to me, it's all about being genuine. And
absolutely,
and I know all you guys, and I know you guys are super genuine, but hopefully that, that's the mindset of everybody that's brewing this beer. And I think it is. Nobody's just brewing this beer just to be, let's appease the black people or appease this cause, because ultimately what Marcus wants to do, he wants everybody to pick a charity and donate the proceeds to that charity. So that takes some thought. You just don't go pick, you just go, I'm going to donate to, whatever, but you got to give it some thought. So.
Exactly. So what are you guys doing with the 3 of you? What are you guys doing with your Black is Beautiful brews? Yeah. I know everybody's doing it a little bit differently.
Can you divulge it as a secret?
Can you, we won't tell anyone. Look, there's like 3 people that listen. It's not a big deal. My wife, his mom,
his son. Can anybody divulge? You don't have to. It's all good. It's all good.
I never balk at sharing recipes or anything like that. I was a home brewer for so long, and all I wanted was information. So I'm always willing to share. We're not doing anything really out of the ordinary with this particular beer. I kind of adjusted a couple of the ingredients just to kind of fit our system a little better. But we are going to add cocoa nibs and a little bit of vanilla to this one, just because a boring imperial stout just wasn't really in my wheelhouse.
Your style.
So I thought, let's just hit it with like a ton of cocoa nibs and just like really, but then I'm going to take a bunch of it and put it in a barrel.
Oh, nice.
I kind of thought it would be fun to reflect on it in a year or so and see if there was any progress made, where we are, what, maybe we'll be in the same situation we are right now. I'm not sure, but I definitely thought it would be kind of a good way to keep it at the forefront. And especially just for me, like I'll be checking on that beer regularly while it sits in a barrel, and I'll remember like this is still something that, I'm going to do something with in the future.
Right.
So yeah, that's our plan. We're going to can it up and put it out there, and then we're going to tuck away in a smaller format barrel for 6 months, 8 months, whenever it feels like the timing is right with it.
That's kind of cool. A little time capsule.
Yeah. Bree, can you divulge anything?
Yeah. So I made the beer last week, and I invited one of my friends, Des, to come brew it with me. She showed up right at grain out, so it was perfect time to do all the hard work. She's a Black woman who's a home brewer. She's come to the brewery at least once before, like last year, and shadowed me brewing. She makes good shit. She was at Hip Hops last year. But I think when we release it, I'm going to have, she's also a DJ, so we're going to have a little party.
Sweet.
With her DJing. But so it's in the fermenter now. And I think we're going to add we're looking at maybe some meadow foam honey, adding to it. So one of the owners of Big Rip, Carl, he also owns Black Labs Mead in Olathe.
Oh, yeah.
So he's kind of got the hookup on some honey. So I think I'm going to add a little bit of that at the end to give it a little more flavor besides just an imperial stout.
Right.
Chris, what are you guys doing? Or can you divulge it?
I could divulge. I mean, we did decide to brew a boring imperial stout, but part of it just to us it's not boring because we don't brew them very often.
Right.
Like anyone who knows us, we've got a year-round porter, but we really don't brew that many big stouts, and so we're kind of excited to do it. And to us, it was more about the tertiary collab and the cause.
Right.
So we're excited to get to do that. And yeah, it's something that it's the least, we make beer, and I think you kind of talked about the industry. What other industry? That's something that most of the people who kind of fall into this we're all about enjoying people and sharing what we do. And we're all bad at saying no. And, and that was a big thing I kind of posted a while back was just, when people ask us what we are, I don't usually say microbrewery. I don't usually say craft brewery. I say we're a community brewery. We're trying to make as big of an impact while we are still around.
Cool. Well, Nick's
awesome.
Nick's out of beer, so Mr. Beer number 2.
All right, what's the back? Hold up.
Let's see what Nick pulls out. He's going for the big boy.
Yeah.
This was given to me yesterday. It's 5 years old. Can you read
Dogfish head. Chateau Jiahu?
I guess that's how you pronounce it. Anybody heard of this one?
Ale brewed with honey and hawthorn fruit and fermented with grape juice.
Ooh. Yeah, and it's 5 years old.
It is 5 years old.
So,
all right.
Chris has a bottle opener.
We'll let Chris pour.
No, I'm super excited you guys are participating. It was interesting talking to Marcus, last week. If you guys haven't listened to that one, he's an interesting cat. I met him last August at Fresh Fest, and he's a passionate guy, and they do crazy stouts, and this was an idea that popped in his head at 3 a.m. And he was going to do it just as a one brew at his brewery, and somebody challenged him to say, "Hey, make it bigger."
Jeff at Jester King.
Yeah, it was at Jester King, and it's gone nuts.
It got a little bit bigger.
Yeah, I mean, who knew there was a beer scene in Rwanda? There's a brewery in Rwanda brewing that beer. I mean, it's the most ridiculous, and he's like, it's not about me. I'm like, well, it is about you, but that was your brainchild, so it's a great idea. So,
well, that's a little bit of a risk too. I mean, just to put that out there and let's see who jumps on.
Well,
it's fantastic.
Like we talked about, the beer community. I mean, and we'll talk about this, and we talked about it last week. It's not the beer; it's inclusive, but part of the way tap rooms look right now is because a lot of people don't know what the hell is in their backyard, and we'll get into that. But we want Nick to.
But I think we're going to talk about
Yeah.
education,
Yeah.
access.
Let's get your taste. What? Oh, he actually smelled it. Let's see. I'm coaching him up well. He actually put his nose in it.
I don't know if I know what hawthorn fruit tastes like.
I mean, hawthorn fruit. Anybody know what that is? Courtney, you know what
I'm looking at I'm looking at the three smart people that do math and science and beer. They should know everything.
That's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
I would have.
Is that the hawthorn fruit that I don't know what that flavor is?
Was there honey in it? Is that what it
I
says?
think they said honey.
It tastes like
It's
a lot
got
of honey.
like
But there's
juniper
something
kind of.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's 5 years old, so there's that.
Well, it's better than the 10-year-old thing you gave me when we had Chalanda on.
Yeah,
that did not go well.
One of my friends owned we were talking about it earlier, where she had a little bar down the street, and she had the only craft beer. So she had 5 bottles of Boulevard. Was it the cherry?
Mm-hmm. No, well, that one was good.
Yeah, that one was good. But she also had the silver. Remember the silver anniversary one? It was a big bomber. Yeah, we cracked that open. That didn't go so well.
Did not age well. Unlike me.
The other one aged was awesome, I thought.
That was fantastic.
The cherry stout.
The cherry stout was fantastic.
Yeah, that thing, 5 years old, it was still ridiculous. So
you said Courtney earlier that you don't usually do the boring imperial stout. Is it fun to get projects like this though that push you a little bit out of your normal wheelhouse?
Yeah, so I brewed this
or is it scary?
So I brewed this one with my mentor, Angelo. He actually, I was planning on brewing it, and I kind of thought it might be something fun that he would want to get involved in. An imperial stout is pretty tough to do on a 20-barrel system, or that size. It's a pretty big investment. So I reached out to him and was just like, hey, do you want to do this? And he was like, yeah. He calls me homie all the time. So he's like, yeah, homie, I'll do it. And so I'm like, well, look at the recipe and let me know what you think. And he actually sent me back his version of it and said, we're going to add lactose because I know you. We're going to drop the IBUs because I know you. So it's kind of his take on what he thought I would do with it, which is kind of fun. So we definitely added lactose. We definitely dropped the IBUs quite a bit.
I think that's what we ought to do at Christmas time is get all of the Kansas City microbrews. They draw a different brew out of the hat, and you got to make what you think they would do.
Oh yeah, and I think he added an extra bag or two of base malt to bump the ABV up because he's like, oh, you're gonna want it to finish sweet. Yeah. So it was kind of fun just to see his interpretation of what I would do, and he was pretty much spot on. So we brewed it. My system is a 3-barrel system, but I can do 7 between the 2 kettles if I really push it. So we basically did a barrel and a half in each kettle. And his assistant brewer came and did most of the cleaning and the grain out, which was awesome. I mean, it was just like a fun day of some friends getting together and brewing a beer that we all thought was important. And I'm pretty excited to see where it ends up.
Courtney, don't you have a new assistant?
I do. I do have a new assistant brewer. Yeah.
Who's that?
Her name's Jennifer. I think we're on week 3. So having like an assistant brewer is kind of new for me. Having somebody that
you
does,
gotta let go of some of the controls.
well, I mean, there are certain things I would love to let go of. Cleaning fermenters, bye-bye. But she was there that day. We haven't started brewing yet. I kind of, with us, it just being us two there's a lot of, kegging, cleaning.
Right.
I have 8 fermenters and I turn over 3 of those a week. So 3 a week are getting cleaned.
Yeah.
And then I'm brewing and putting back into those.
Right.
So those are kind of the big things that I wanted her to focus on. But I'm definitely looking forward to seeing what her ideas are on what we should brew, because eventually I'm going to run out of ideas.
Are you?
Are you really?
Hey, Bree, what was the thoughts when you guys came up with the recipe of what you wanted to do? Was there some sort of meeting, or what was that? What was that like?
No, it's just all me.
I like it.
Most in the brewery. No, I kind of just changed a couple of the grains to kind of match with what I use. Like, I don't use Black Patent. I don't like it. I started using a new grain called Black Prince from Burrows. It's really, really solid. No, not bitter at all. Black malt, and I think I increased the chocolate malt quite a bit on it. And I also used a heavy hand so it called for flaked oats. So I used a little flaked oats, but I used a lot of this. Burrows also has a roast oat. It tastes like the clumps in honey bunches of oats.
Oh.
And it's awesome. I love that grain. So I used a shit ton of that in it as well.
Chris, did they let you have any input?
Can you define shit ton?
5011.
Thank you. Shit
ton, 5011. If you haven't seen the shirt, we have one shirt, and that's because his son asked, define shit ton, 5011. So there you go.
Yeah, we stayed pretty true. Just a matter of working with our supplier and matching up what we could get.
So Eric lets you participate
on occasion. On occasion, but usually he has it all taken care of. We've got a good relationship that usually we've got a good, just amount of trust on how we want to brew the beer and how we want to share the beer. So it's a good team.
Right.
What's turnaround time for you guys when you brew day to release?
We're hoping to brew ours like the week after, late next week. So 3 weeks.
Bree, what about you?
Probably about 3 weeks. We brewed it last Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't remember. And then it's getting close to being done fermenting now, but I'm going to add some more sugars to it to give it another kick.
Courtney?
So we brewed it a week and a half ago. It's basically done with primary, and I'm probably just going to let it sit until I feel like it's ready to go in, a part of it to go into the barrel. So probably 3 to 4 weeks. So from now, that's 2.5 to 3 weeks from now.
Right. Cool. So moving on, we always talk about this on Beers with Nigel. We always talk about tap rooms and breweries and diversity. I always try to get people's takes. As we all know, most of the tap rooms, all of the tap rooms, it's mostly Caucasian. I think we get a good representation of women in Kansas City, which I love, because a lot of people I talk to in different states are like, we don't have women. I'm like, you need to come to Kansas City. I know, half of my beer drinking friends are women, so which I love. But one of my things is, as we go forward, obviously we know there's a lack of diversity in tap rooms. 2020 for me, before the COVID started, my goal was to really delve into, shout out to Alana for putting together, I Am Craft Beer, and that really brought some people together that I thought was, and again, it's the beer community. I'm not surprised if people are going to jump on board and, understand, we need to diversify, because obviously on one level, just to expose people to people of color to what we do and we love, it's good for your bottom line, but it's also good for people too, because beer brings people together. So what are your thoughts on reaching out, thoughts on how Kansas City as a whole can make our tap rooms a little more diverse?
First, I do want to give a shout out to Alana for that event. One of the key, guests that she had was Christina Sanchez.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much that night, I messaged my partners, Michael and Jason, said, we're going to hire her. And so I think I had offered her a job like within that next week. And she's our general manager now. So that was really great event, really good discussion. And just I was fortunate enough to find someone who was just a big missing part in our team. But yeah, I think it goes back to what you said about being genuine. Like, I don't know how, other than, working with friends and working with their friends and, slowly trying to build that community to bring in more people who, like you said, just maybe they don't know what a brewery tap room is. Same with goes to events like, we don't have Nano Brew, but some other hip hop.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a great way to kind of bring in new people. But always having, people in your space that are welcoming and inviting and just want to share what we do. So whether that's, bartenders, the first face that come into a tap room, making sure that there's someone who's always wanting to give somebody a good time.
And that was one of the things I'd never really given any thought about. We had a whole conversation about, well, how many bartenders of color are there in Kansas City? Well, I work at 3 breweries because I'm starting to do some filling at Grains and Tabs. I'm like, well, there's me, and then I forgot Narrator works at what's the brewery? Torn Label, Narrator Jones. So I'm like, is it just she and I? I'm like, so it's kind of I don't maybe my whole thing is, I guess people just don't know about craft beer in the communities of color or Latino or whatever. So Bree, what do you think? What's your take on how we can make it, whether it be at the brew house level or at the tap room level? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it goes, you've got to do it on all levels to do it on any level. So like you said, Narita, my she's a friend of mine, Des.
Yeah.
I make it a point to ask her first. Like, if I need a DJ, I'm going to go to her first.
I didn't know her name. Her nickname was Des, by the way.
Yeah, her nickname's Des. Yeah.
So when I see her, because she's coming Wednesday to
Oh,
Diametric.
cool. Yeah, she told
so I'll
me.
be like, "What up, Des?"
Gonna try. Yeah, do it. She also did some work for because we're working on maybe some rebranding, and she's got her degree in marketing and graphic design. So I went to her and she's working on that for us.
Sweet.
A big thing as an owner or a GM or someone who's running the show, like, make it a point to reach out to Black people and people of color and gay people with talent. So instead of just the usual, like, oh, this is a popular company, so I'm going to go with them. Like,
right.
Make it a point to think about who you're hiring to do work for you and who you're paying, whether it's bands, whether it's labels, artwork, musicians, employees, anything. Like, actually think about what you're doing.
Courtney?
Yeah, Courtney, because you are the female brewers of Kansas City. That's small club.
There's one other.
Oh, there's one other? There's
Yep.
a third? Okay, I was wrong. But you just hired an assistant brewer, a female assistant brewer. Was that it? Did you purposefully, was that with purpose you went out and looked for that, or?
No, we did interviews with men and women. No one that I know of applied who was a person of color, unfortunately. But that wasn't I wasn't like seeking, a woman to fill that void. Obviously, I want to prop up other women who want to be in this industry. The same goes for, a person of color. Like, I definitely want to help in any way I can. I don't think that there is as much interest in the craft beer world from women or from people of color yet. I think it will come. Nigel mentioned that, in Kansas City, we've got a lot of women. And I think that's true. And I think that helps. Like, as soon as you have like a woman brewer, more women are like, oh, I want to drink beer. And I think that we're just sort of not quite there yet. We don't have that like person of color who's like outspoken, and maybe it's you, Nigel. But I think people, I think people see themselves, and then, they sort of do other things that they might have, wanted to do, but they were afraid to do, or they were, just hesitant to do. I definitely love, our customers. I feel like I tell all of my bartenders, like, it doesn't matter who walks in. If they have a Trump hat, I don't care. Like, let's just be nice to them. Let's, make their experience a positive one, because I really feel like when they leave, I want them to walk away thinking like, man, that was owned by, a gay woman, and it was all right. Not, it was owned by a gay woman and she kicked me out. Like,
right. Yeah.
Think of the old Patrick Swayze routine there. Be nice.
Right. That's rule number 2 in life.
Like that's the best thing that we can do. Bree said, look for diversity and hire for diversity. But if you don't have diversity applying or diversity walking in your doors, then I think the best thing you can do is just be vocal about your support, and also just make sure that when someone does walk in who doesn't look like you are prepared to treat them, the way that they should be treated. Right.
Just with straight up respect. And I've talked to all you guys about this. My whole thing is like, education, and I had a great conversation with Nick Mader, because where that brewery is and where Boulevard is, frankly, I mean, that's a Latino community, right? And I asked Nick, I was like, how many Latinos do you have come in here? He's like, not very many. And craft beer is a weird animal, because it's not like we advertise, right? Boulevard advertises. Crane, there's no Crane commercials. There's no Big Rip commercials, no service commercials. So it's kind of word of mouth. So unless,
but if they want them, we'll take their money.
If you did a commercial, we do that too. No. So it's an interesting animal, and unless I tell Chris or you or Courtney or Bree, hey, there's this brewery down, it's a weird business that, it's not like we're out there, and you guys are small businesses. It's not like you can go do outreach or whatever. So once the COVID is over, my goal is to really reach out to some of my friends who do, events in whatever community and say, hey, these are the beers that are around you. Because a lot of people, there's a lot of craft beer people who still don't know Alma Mater is a thing, or Service is a thing, or Big Rip, or even Crane. It's weird. That's why, Together We Can was so crazy, because so many people are like, where's this brewery? This is in Kansas City. Where you live here? What the hell?
Well, I'm curious, like the role. So there's Nigel, there's Alana. Chicago has Chalanda, Afro Beer Chick. Yeah. How much do you guys how big a role do those craft beer ambassadors, play? Because you don't have giant marketing budgets. You don't have ad agencies working for you.
Huge. Yeah, I tell people, whenever, like, you guys reaching out to invite us on this, whenever we've been lucky enough to have a news person show up, I thank them, because we're a small business.
You've been on news a lot, buddy. Come on.
We don't have advertising. We don't have billboards. We don't have any of that. Yeah, it's definitely that's how we get our word out.
Courtney just got a big news piece a few months ago.
Yeah, Courtney's famous.
Oh man, yeah, I agree. It's awesome whenever somebody wants to feature you or whatever. But I feel like, especially now when we get that opportunity to be in the newspaper or to be on TV, that we really use that time to advocate for the things that we believe in. And I don't know that I've always done a great job of that. And so that's something that I definitely know, now, rather than thinking like, oh, this is a great opportunity for us to reach out to all these other people, that don't know that we exist. I feel like a better purpose is to use that time to say, like, we do this, this, and this because we believe in this, this, and this. So I definitely think that there's some opportunity there when we do get the chance to be on some sort of, publication or TV or whatever.
Bree?
Yeah, I mean, the media does a lot for us. I mean, I think I don't remember the guy's name that did the Friday night flight.
Brad Stevens.
Yeah, Brad Stevens. Yeah. I mean, he was awesome.
Yeah.
Like, he was so excited to come.
Free beer.
About it. It was so cool to see, like,
that was cool.
A local star come out and talk about our beer and want to do like a whole couple-minute segment on us. And it's nice to have, I mean, the KC beer scene, I know it's not like the same everywhere, but the KC beer scene, like, we all talk each other up, and it's,
right.
I think that's a big help too.
Yeah, I love when we talk to people from different parts of the country or different places, and I'm like, hey, Kansas City got 3 female brewers. I'm super proud of that fact, and I tout that. I'm like, hey, because most cities don't have that. It's it's kind of unusual, and we've cornered the market, so let's keep that shit up. So, hey, on a lighter note, just talking. I'll start with you, Chris. You obviously like beer. Do you have a particular style that you kind of gravitate to?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, I like something that plays with hops because there's so many options there. Something that lets me really pull a certain hop out. Also, I still joke because I work and I don't sleep and I don't eat that lower ABV beers are great. Alcohol gets in the way of beer drinking sometimes. So something sessionable, something crusher, something that there's not a lot masked.
Sessions are coming back, I feel like. Courtney, what about you? What's if you're sitting at home and you're like, I'm gonna drink whatever, what's kind of your go-to?
Everyone thinks I love sours because that's literally 90% of our lineup, but I actually don't like sours at all.
Oh, I know. I hear this all the time.
See, so it's okay to say that, Nigel.
You shut up.
Yeah, my wife loves them, but they're just not my thing. So I gravitate toward hops. So I really dig, an IPA, a double IPA. In the summer, I am getting on board with the pale ales and some sort of easy drinkers.
Right.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm looking for.
What about you, Bree?
Well, for the past several months, I've been all about lagers.
Yeah.
Simple, clean, kind of malty, maybe kind of hoppy sometimes, mostly lagers. And yeah, sessions, pale ales.
Yeah, I feel like lagers are not getting the love they should. Because isn't that one of the hardest things to brew? Because you can't hide anything, and isn't that the case?
That it's tough to explain to people. Almost done a really great job, but it's tough to explain to people that something that has much fewer ingredients. There's no necessarily adjuncts added, but the time it takes and the work involved that it should reach a decent price point. Everyone thinks that's a cheap beer,
right?
And so that's kind of tough to convey sometimes.
Cool. Hey, before we wrap this up, we got one more beer for Nick.
We do?
Yeah.
Woo!
Getting the
exciting.
Bag. One more beer. What's up, buddy?
Hey!
We got our first extra guest. An unannounced guest. He's like,
look at that. Let me see that camera. Lean in there. Oh, snuggle time.
What you got in there,
What
buddy?
we got?
Oh, he's going to get excited about this.
Oh,
look at that.
Hold that up. Can you see the camera's so far away?
Yeah.
We have the Servaes Peach Milkshake Secrets. I'm excited about this already.
I know you are.
I'm excited.
I'm telling you, Courtney, he's a fanboy.
She's never let me down.
I'm gonna drag him over there one of these days. He's afraid to go to Kansas.
That's true. I'll go there before I go to St. Louis, though. Let's just say that.
Yeah, don't get him started on St. Louis. He's out.
Nobody likes St. Louis. Come on, it's true.
St. Louis and pickles. That's his. He hates both of those.
That's a tough can to pour from.
So, Courtney, tell people where your brewery's located, website, Facebook, where we can find you.
Oh man, you can already smell it. That's fantastic.
Yeah. So we're in Shawnee, Kansas. Service Brewing Co. On Facebook, or I think we're on Instagram. I think we're on Twitter. We're on everything.
Yeah, you're on Twitter.
Yeah.
What about you, Bree? Give us where can people find you?
Yeah, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Big Rip Brewing. Website is a piece of shit, but it's Big Rip Brewing.
Don't go there.
It sucks, but whatever. You can find our menu there.
You need somebody to work on your website? I know a guy.
Maybe.
Yeah, I know a guy.
I know a guy.
Sucks, probably.
We can make it unsuck. How about that?
Yeah.
Chris, where's Crane?
On the interwebs, no, on social, and we are also in the midst of updating our website because it's old. There's old stuff on there.
Look, if a website is more than a year old anymore, it's old.
It's
Yeah.
old.
You have to update all the time.
Yeah, that's a thing. That's a super thing. So
where is Crane in Raytona Beach?
Say right off downtown, like 65th and Railroad Street. We're about to be the Rock Island Corridor, the new bike trail, goes right through our parking lot.
That's awesome.
It's exciting that they kind of started that during the whole shutdown process. They're supposed to be done by October, but closest brewery to the stadium.
Well, nice plug there.
Nice plug for when fans are allowed to go back to the stadium.
Exactly, if ever. So Nick, what's your? Have you tasted it yet? He liked how it smelled. So that's a good start.
I love Courtney.
I love Courtney.
Don't we all? That's awesome. Hey, we appreciate you guys coming on. It's been a great conversation. I can't wait to try the beers. I told Marcus I would round up all the Black is Beautiful beers around Kansas City, and we'll load them up. Because I'm my dad lives in San Antonio, so I'm going in August. Because maybe some of you know, my grandfather, my grandbaby lives in Austin, so I'm gonna make a trip, go see my mother in Dallas, go to Austin, see my son and the baby, and go see my father in San Antonio, and pick up beer all along the way. So whether they're open or not, I'm gonna get some to-goes. But thank you guys for coming on. I'm sure we'll see you soon in your tap room. I know, Courtney, you're very rarely in the tap room, but I know you're in the back.
We can yell loud.
I will. I'm like, is Courtney back there? Yeah, she's working. That's what they always tell me. There's time they won't let me talk to you, so there's that.
Well, nobody really wants to talk to you.
So again, that's Nick Parker. I'm Nigel. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Bree. Thank you, Courtney.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Beers with Nigel. We'll see you guys next time. Peace out.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
You have been listening to Beers with Nigel, a show about beer and other stuff, hosted by Nigel Woodbury and that other guy, Nick Parker. Beers with Nigel is a proud member of the Fredcast Network, and it's available on your favorite podcast apps. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Beers with Nigel.